We are so very happy to welcome back to our home Jane Seymour. She's here talking with us about her new book. In short, it's called The Wave, and we're not talking about one of these that you see at the stadium and everybody, although that brings inspiration to the people on the field. This is called The Wave, Inspiration for Navigating Life's Changes and Challenges. It's so nice to have you back with us.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So talk to us a little bit about why, first of all, we'll get into what The Wave is, but why did you want to write the book?
I wanted to write the book because I felt that in life, it's as if you're on a body of water, you know, wherever you're born, whatever your circumstances, and you kind of seamlessly seem to be going in a direction. And then this wonderful high happens in your life where you make the team, you fall in love, you have the crush, whatever it is, but it's like a moment. And like the crest of a wave, it doesn't stay there, does it? It goes down. Yeah. Well, for a lot of people, when that happens and it goes down, they go, oh, I'm never doing that again. That's too painful. I won't do that. But actually, if you think about a wave, what it does is it lets go of water it doesn't need anymore. It survives the crash more than, takes with it the experience, the highs, the lows, the letting go. It collaborates and meets with new water and creates a new wave. So I've always felt that life was really that way. And if you think of life as being cyclical, you realize that it's a learning experience and it's valuable and it's just part of life.
But is it something that we can control or prevent? Because everybody loves the high part of it, but that side coming down the other side, we're like, oh, I went through a really tough time last year, and if I could have put the brakes on, I think I could have, but I don't know. I think
there's a reason for it always. There's a reason for the movement. Life is constantly moving. The water is constantly moving. You don't stop the ocean and say, okay, just stay right there.
You can't control Mother Nature.
No, you can't control Mother Nature, and we are Mother Nature. We're made up of 65% of water ourselves, so we are water creatures. Sure. We are part of that universe. And so it's just normal that life cycles that way. And I think the real problem, you're saying what you can prevent, is when people set themselves up to, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this relationship, I'm going to have that job, I'm going to buy that thing, and then everything's going to stay that way. Well,
it does.
Excuse me. No, yeah. Especially if you have children, right?
Right. No, that's so true. And and some waves are, you crash harder than most. Sometimes.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying. And some of them are really high, and some of them aren't so dangerous.
And sometimes, if you haven't had that wave cycle, you wouldn't have the opportunity of meeting the new opportunity that comes your way. Right. And I can.
I love that analogy, Jane. I really, really do.
Well, thank you. That's why I wrote the book. And of course, you can't do that unless you open your heart. So, it's part of my open heart philosophy, because my mother always said, if you have something tough in your life, your instinct will always be to close off your heart or to hang on to whatever that pain is or whatever that moment was. But if you can open your heart, accept what's happened, that's always the biggest thing.
Sure.
And then reach out in some way to help someone else. You will be able to come from a very unique perspective.
So share with your perspective, because you've been through so much and you've shared. I want to go back to when you're the earliest wave that you can recall, in your life. What do you remember?
I remember, well, first of all, as a little girl, I had flat feet and a speech impediment. So I was picked out, to have remedial classes. And the next thing I knew, my mother put me in ballet, and I loved ballet. I loved it more than anything in the world. I was going to be a prima ballerina. And I even got to dance with the Kirov at Covent Garden. So actually, I got really an awfully long way. And that was my dream. That was what I was going to be. I lived for it. There was nothing else in the world I wanted.
No, that's a peak,
then,
right?
Yeah, that was a huge peak. And then I, did a jazz class, and out went my knee, and that was it. And I wouldn't get better, and I realized I couldn't be a dancer anymore. And when I had that moment, and I realized that I not only wasn't going to be able to dance, but I definitely couldn't do it professionally, but it could be really bad damage, I realized that I didn't have a backup plan. And what happened was that after that crash, I was then asked to audition for a movie playing a dancer. And so I started acting. Now, I have to tell you, I would not have the career I have today had it not been for those ballet classes, because let's face it, I spent a lot of time wearing, costumes, which deportment and the ability to do the odd minuet or waltz has come in handy. But thank goodness now, I say, that I had that injury, because I would have been a not terribly good dancer, but I've had the opportunity to become not only an actress, but an author, a painter, a designer, a mom, a million things. And so I think my advice to people is, don't put all your eggs in the one basket. Realize that eggs can crack.
Yeah.
And that you can actually learn from that crack, and you can, you know, go forward and find something new.
You have a couple of cracked eggs on the
Okay.
But you said
was coming, Jane.
But it also, go ahead.
You
sorry.
said something very important, though. You never stopped. You kept moving forward. You
Yes.
learned from your experience, and you didn't get comfortable with the feeling of feeling uncomfortable. You know, you just kept right on going.
I think that is the most important advice. What you're saying there is life is cyclical. Life keeps moving. Feelings keep moving. You know, it's part of the creative process of living. And when people say you've got to live in the moment, you have to, because the past is done, and you have no idea really about the future. You can prepare, but you can't really prepare.
Did you, Kim? You've experienced that wave that she talks about. Did you on the downside? Were you fighting, resisting, or did you find yourself just going with it?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting about that, and I really loved your philosophy, like Christina was saying, because I came from a family where when things would go wrong, it was kind of like, oh no, it's going wrong. Oh, this is, you know, and it wasn't about opening. It was a little bit more about protecting. And I do find that in this business, as we all on this sofa see, you know, people have said to me recently, like, oh my gosh, you're an overnight success after 30 years of being told I was too short or too fat or too tall or too blonde or too, you know, so I think we all have gone through those ups and downs.
But the secret is you never stopped. You don't stop. Isn't it about owning the pain, acknowledging the pain, go through the pain, and then keep right on going.
And realizing you're going to learn something from it.
Yes. Yeah.
You will actually have a better, more valuable existence, you know, with that information, with that experience.
But you also said something really, really important. The minute you get out of yourself and you give to others, that's when it all starts.
Well, that's, you know, the whole open heart philosophy, and you know, that's why it's so wonderful when you see people that have a huge challenge, like my friend Christopher Reeve. What did he do? He spent the rest of his life, you know, fighting for the possibility of finding a cure for spinal cord injury.
Jesse, did you find that? Because I know you went through a difficult time.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, like not stopping. I think my biggest wave was 2 years ago when my dad died, and it was very sudden. And I think when someone dies very suddenly in sort of an awful way, my little brother was only 17 and I was 28 and I was pregnant. So you kind of, you give up. Like I remember going to the house, my mom had just called me and she didn't say that he had died. So we walk in and it was like, we were sitting there for hours, you know, looking at him and thinking. And I remember my little brother going, well, now it doesn't matter. I don't have to graduate high school in 2 weeks. Like, who cares? Dad won't see it. And a lot of that, no, I'm gonna cry.
That's okay.
But a lot of that, like, you don't care, you give up. And I think that was the hardest part for me, was I had just started the website. It was up for 4 days. He didn't see it. So you go, oh, who cares? Dad can't see this. Dad can't see my baby. Dad, you know? And then, like, 3 months down the road, I remember waking up and going, well, my mom can still see it, you know, I can still see it. My little babies, like, are gonna be able to see it. So it was kind of that awakening where, like, it did matter. It mattered to me, it mattered to other people, but it was getting over that where I just felt like, oh my God, like, now what does it matter? You know, Dad can't see it. So it was interesting down the road how
to keep going,
you know, to keep going, like, you have to keep going.
Wonderful. Well, I think it's a wonderful book, and Jane, you've shared so much of your philosophy on life with people, whether it's through the Open Hearts line or this.
Is this a wave?
This is a wave. I'm
that
wearing it
piece.
right.
I saw that in the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Well, it's two waves, and they're open hearts, and where they connect, it connects and makes the single open heart. Actually, this book is available right now at Kay Jewelers, and it isn't officially out yet. So for Valentine's.
Oh, really?
So you have the open heart, and then you have the wave.
And we're benefiting St. Jude's too. So.
Very nice. It's so lovely. Always.
I don't know what it is. Every time you come here, I feel better. I don't know.
You do?
I honestly,
Thank you.
It's very inspirational.
And your whole philosophy. As Jane said, her book is available at Kay Jewelers. Pick it up. If you're experiencing a wave in your life, share with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com. You see it there at the bottom of the screen.